Hi there. So, if you are just starting in PR, the world can feel like it has its own secret language. From pictures to clips, understanding the terminology is the first step to working confidently with journalists and media outlets. Now, in today's video, I'll walk you through some of the most common PR terms every beginner should know, explain what they mean, and I'll also give you a couple of examples of how they show up in real life. So now the first one we have over here is a pitch. Now, a pitch is a personalized email or message you send to a journalist suggesting a story idea. It's meant to grab attention quickly. So, for example, you email a journalist about a new app launch, highlighting why the audience would care. So, you find different types of pitches. So, the one pitch might be where you are asking a publication if you can provide them with a guest post. Highlighting your expertise. Another one could be where a journalist might be asking for expert insights. So you would send them a pitch and then basically say, hey, so I've got experience within this industry and I might be able to help you with your content. Then the next one we have here is a query. Now, a query is a request from a journalist for information, expert quotes, or sources for a story. So queries often appear on platforms like Help a Reporter Out. So, for example, a journalist asks for SEO experts to comment on 2026 trends. You respond with your insights. Now you can find it, let's say, on a site like X, where a journalist might be asking for finance experts to provide them with a quote. And then you can tell them, I'm in this industry and I can help you with your content. I can provide those quotes for you. And then the next one we have here is exclusive. Now, offering a story to a single journalist or outlet before sharing it with anyone else. So, this often increases media interest. For example, you give one tech blog first access to your interview with a founder before it goes public. Now, you can also mention this in your pitch by telling them, hey, this is an exclusive story. I haven't shared this with anyone else. So this creates a bit of curiosity, and this is exactly where the exclusivity comes in, because a journalist would want to know, okay, so I'm the first one covering the story, perhaps. So it might help you in getting your pitches accepted and getting those media features. And the next one we have here is earned media. So this is coverage that you don't pay for. So it's usually gained from pitching or media relationships. It's publicity you earn rather than buy. So, for example, a local newspaper writes a feature on your startup after you send them a story idea. So, the opposite of this would be, let's say, paid ads or anything like that. But it all depends on the strategy that you have. If it's something that is timely, you want your audience or customers to buy from you, going for ads might be a better option. But earned media is a great way to get exposure from different publications without having to pay for it. Then we've got a byline. Now, the author's name attached to an article or op-ed. So that's what a byline is. So it's often used for thought leadership content. So, for example, you write an article for a business magazine and your name appears at the top as the author. Now, keep in mind it might have your name there, it might have the publication, but it won't always have a backlink to your site. But I think having that medium mentioned in a top publication is also a good way to earn exposure. And then we've got thought leadership. Now, this is positioning yourself or your company as an expert through articles, commentary, or interviews. So it could be publishing insights on trends in AI that journalists quote in their articles. Now, that's the one thing that you want to stand out to a journalist. You want to stand out as an expert, because if they, let's say, they are working on a finance article or an SEO article and they are looking for experts, you can become their go-to person because they know that you are an expert within this field. So now you can create different types of content that journalists can cite within their own articles. And then next up, we've got a media list. Now, this is a curated list of journalists, editors, and outlets you can pitch stories to. So it helps you stay organized. So, for example, a spreadsheet with emails of tech journalists you've identified for a product launch. Now, when you are new to PR and you don't have that media list, you might be pitching to just everyone because you aren't quite sure who would be the journalist that would cover your story. But with a media list, you know exactly who the journalists are that you are pitching to. You understand their niche, industry, and the type of content that they are interested in or that they focus on. And then next up, we've got a clip or a media clip. Now, any article, interview, or media mention your brand or client receives. So, for example, a screenshot of your company mentioned in TechCrunch is considered a clip. Now, this is also a good way to get exposure apart from sending out quotes or expert insights. Then we've got crisis PR. Now, this is strategic communication during negative events to protect reputation and minimize damage. Now, I do hope that you never have to use crisis PR and that everything goes smoothly for you. However, if there is negative press or anything like that, crisis PR would really help you in creating a positive public image. It also helps you connect with your audience. So if anything happens and you aren't quite sure how to connect with them based on negative feelings or reviews, then this is a good way to kind of address that issue. Then we've got spin. Now, this is shaping the narrative of a story to present it in a positive or strategic way. So, for example, highlighting a company's community initiative after a minor product issue to focus on a goodwill. So, now this is just your way of, let's say, spinning your story in a positive light. And then lastly, we have coverage. Now, these are the media mentions, articles, or segments where your story appears. So, for example, a roundup of news features where your startup is mentioned across different publications. Now, this is what you want. This is one of the key features of what PR is, getting those media mentions and coverage. So yeah, this is just a few of the different common PR terms that you might see, during your career. And we will definitely do another video on a few more of the common terms in PR.